why I can't get my Pokemon. Welcome to Healthcare Triage Live. At least we believe we're live. And there's so much going on. And I know we do this every time we start Healthcare Triage Live. I talk about something that has nothing to do with it. But Stan just turned me on to this flat earth video that will consume the rest of my afternoon. It's like 2 hours long and it is spectacular. Anyway, let's get to your questions, which are much more important. We're going to start with one from last week, or the last time we did this that I didn't get to. Chris F. asks, what do I think about President Obama's article in the ACA and JAMA? Is it okay because it's relevant to healthcare in the U.S., or bad because it politicizes a scientific publication? I don't think it's bad. First of all, it's like whether, I don't know. I guess I did not look at it in the same way as saying like, well, this is a peer-reviewed article. I looked at this as almost like writing an editorial or a viewpoint, or there are other things that get published in a medical journal that are not necessarily peer-reviewed scientific publications. I mean, President Obama wasn't doing research. He wasn't running an experiment. He was reporting on data, and certainly he had access to data. I think he could just call up Medicare likely and say, give me the data to make this chart. So I considered that to be an editorial with data. And I think that, viewpoints and whatnot have been published by presidents before. I'm pretty sure President Bush published a viewpoint either in like the New England or a perspective in New England Journal of Medicine or JAMA. I think it might have been on like the PEPFAR, the big AIDS project, that the research, the money he put towards like improving AIDS in Africa. And so I don't think this is the first time like a president has been published totally in a peer-reviewed publication. So I don't know that I buy into the idea that it politicizes it. I mean, come on. We know he's the president. We know he's pro-ACA. You know what background he's coming from, and you can read it and take that. It was also accompanied by a couple of editorials, not all of which agreed, I think, which is with what he was saying, which is appropriate and what you'd expect. And some of those editorials are written by people I really respect, that I correspond with and I cite here on Healthcare Triage, or that I talk to on Twitter. So I don't think it was anything to get riled up about. I do think, especially it's like if the president gives a speech, if the president publishes in a paper, which he does all the time, or if the president publishes in JAMA, as long as we sort of respect the boundaries of what it means, then we're fine. And I don't think that got overdone. So I'm not as concerned about it as perhaps you were. Ayarlo1 asks, my son was recently diagnosed with ADHD, ODD, and his pediatrician recommended a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. He's improved on this diet. Placebo? But I can't find any good research. Thoughts? I love when people ask me these questions. You've got to know what my answer is. You have to know. Come on. No, there's no research on that. In fact, the research has been done would say that this doesn't work. So it is very likely that whatever effect you're getting is placebo effect. Having said that, I don't care. If your son's life is improved by eating this diet and you think things are better and he thinks things are better, why do I care? It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you to change whatever's going on. If you're getting it from a placebo effect, I'm all for that. The problem comes when you start telling other people that is what they need to do. Because the science would say this doesn't work for everybody. It is a pain in the butt. Gluten-free diets aren't necessarily more healthy. In fact, they can be missing in some nutrients, and then they can lead to others. So it's like, I wouldn't be pushing this on other people. The research that exists would say that this does not work, neither the dairy part or the gluten-free part. So if you want to do it to yourself, theoretically, I guess to your child, and you're all happy with that, fine. But I would not be trying to push this as a proven or a good way for other people to treat their ADHD, because that has not been shown to be true with good science. Matt C. Should I be concerned about the possible health risks of ingesting too much maltodextrin? I think I drink Soylent. You know that's made out of people, right? Oh, no, that's the Soylent Green. Sorry. And I'm wondering if the high level of maltodextrin contained within it is unhealthy. Thanks. Why are you drinking Soylent? I'm pointing at Mark, and I don't know if he used to drink that Soylent stuff. Why? Does real food escape you? I mean, why can't you just eat food? I don't know that there have been studies on like the maximum amount of maltodextrin. I would assume if Soylent is a working company that they're not giving you too much maltodextrin. But I would, and if you watched the nice episode we did on food recommendations, I'm not all into this process stuff. Like, just why? We get into trouble when we start making things too fancy or we make it too easy to get the nutrition we need. It's not that hard to eat food. So I don't get the whole Soylent thing. So I have no proof it's unhealthy, but just philosophically, why? Plus, why did they name it Soylent? I mean, you did watch that movie with the Soylent Greens made out of, I mean, it's Charlton Heston, wasn't it? I mean, come on. Bart Dude 5454. Hi, I've just seen a video on infant self-rescue, and I'm wanting to know your opinion as a pediatrician. So I have just been informed that infant self-rescue is like when we teach infants how not to drown so that they can like rescue themselves out of pools. No. You cannot do this. Infants cannot be taught to rescue themselves in a pool situation and self-rescue. First of all, and I'm guilty of this. We took my oldest Jacob when he was a baby. I used to go to the Y to do those baby swim lessons, and it was really cute. Then we get in the pool and we put him in a bubble for whatever it was. And now it's like actually the research shows that might not be such a good idea because babies, as you can imagine, aren't very good about keeping the water out of their lungs. And there's chemicals in the water. Maybe we probably shouldn't be doing that. And so I did not take Noah and I did not take Sydney to learn how to do the infant swim lessons, which were ridiculous anyway because infants can't swim. They can't. You would never trust an infant in a pool by itself. You would never put an infant even with those water wings or anything else in the pool by itself. Why are we teaching infants how to swim? It boggles the mind. I don't even know what I was thinking. It was cute for us as parents, not for the babies. Infants cannot be taught to self-rescue. As a pediatrician, as a human being, I'm not for it. You're not going to teach a baby how to be safe in a pool, even if it provides you with a false sense of security that makes you more lax and less likely to be vigilant when a baby is near water. It's doing you a disservice. Never. Babies, water, bad combination. No. Skycope. Are there any long-term side effects of Accutane? I'm in my 4th month and still no side effects. Well, good. But yes, there are side effects of Accutane. It's really, really bad with the sun. Like, especially if you're using, it's like you really want to make sure you're using sunblock, really. And it can have other side effects too. I don't like to do medical advice in the show, but you could look on the side of the box. You could talk to your physician. There are definitely. I'm thrilled that you're not having any side effects. Don't be lulled into believing that drug has no side effects, though. It does have some significant warnings and precautions that you need to take when you're on it. Talk to your doctor. Armand Jane. What's the most effective management of the common cold? Symptomatic supportive care. Whatever makes you feel good. If you have a headache or pain medication will work for that. If your throat hurts, tea or anything else which makes you feel good. Resting, hugs, baths, anything which makes you feel better is great, especially if it comes with no harms. And all the things I just mentioned pretty much have no harms. So that's really what you can do for a common cold. Cold medicines don't work. Randomized controlled trials, I just said it again, you'll see why on news on Friday. Randomized controlled trials show that cold medicines don't work. No better than placebo. They don't work in kids. And given that they have significant side effects and no benefit, that's why they've been pulled from the shelves for children. The children's stuff is gone. Even for adults, no benefit. When I first got to Indiana, I was horrified to learn that the number one drug prescribed at the clinic I work was called, what was it called? Oh, it's just going to bug me all day. It was a cold medicine. It was a prescription cold medicine that had like scopolamine in it. A prescription. It was the number one drug prescribed at my clinic. It was made at like a local pharmaceutical company in Indiana. I'd never heard of it anywhere else but the number one drug prescribed here. I lost my mind and I went on a tirade to prove that this drug should not be. And I'm pleased to say like it's not prescribed in that clinic much at all anymore. Because that's ridiculous. Cold medicines don't work. Using a prescription with scopolamine in it? No, they don't work. So no, don't use cold medicines. So you're left with symptomatic care. They're all caused by viruses. The vast majority is just going to go away. Treat the symptoms that do exist, like pain, fever if you had it, although colds most of the time don't cause fever. And then take care of yourself. Don't ignore your symptoms. I'm totally fine with taking care of yourself. You should. That's what you should do. Partially Coherent has a long question here. What evidence is there for blue light, specifically from LEDs, being bad for you? Saw a sign at the eye doctor advertising special lenses to protect you from eye strain, retinal damage, sleep problems, and ADHD caused by the blue light from LEDs. As a physicist, I'm deeply skeptical that the narrowband blue light from LEDs are any worse than broader band blue light from supposedly safe sources. What does the research say? Oh my God, I wish I was more versed on this. So first of all, I'm with you on the idea that somehow this blue light is causing like ADHD. No. Having said that, I think there's some research that nighttime certain spectrum of light can like cause sleep issues. In other words, just I don't know if this is even real, but I know that like there's a night setting on like the iPad that like will change, and on like on tablets and stuff to like night watch to like change the tinting. But I think that that's about helping you go to sleep. I don't think it's about preventing ADHD. And I don't know of any evidence that's like harder than that. So I, like you, am deeply skeptical about what you saw in the poster from your eye doctor. That doesn't mean that there's not something to the idea that, you know, looking at certain lights in the dark might not have some impact on like the cognition or brain. Like that's possible, not to ADHD levels, but it could be for some stuff. And so and even retinal, like I don't know. I'd have to look into it more. I'm going to look into it more. I know I've seen that setting, and I've not yet been convinced to use it on my own devices. So obviously I haven't looked into it yet, but I should. Abba throwaway. I don't trust Dr. Google to diagnose me. Good, at all. But sometimes searching yields a plausible fit for my symptoms. What's the best place to start when talking to a physician? Well, the reason that searching yields a plausible fit for your symptoms is that that's, of course, what's going to happen. You're going to eventually find something which gives you what you want. Plus, I still remember to this day when I was in medical school, I had one friend who, whatever disease we were talking about, he would think, oh my God, that's what I have. Like he had a bad cold, and then we learned about inhaling, like getting a foreign object in your lung, and he was convinced he'd aspirated pizza. Another time, his feet were tingling, and he was sure he had multiple sclerosis, and then realized his socks were too tight. So, it is human nature to try to make these things fit. So if you do Dr. Google, eventually you will make them fit. But what's the best place to start when talking to a physician? Just talk to a physician. Describe your symptoms. Talk about what you have. That's their job, to try to apply those to a differential diagnosis and figure out what you have. We call it a differential diagnosis because there are many, many different things often that a set of symptoms could be. And we're trying to create the big set of possibilities for what you have. But then what a doctor does is use their clinical skills, data, tests, other stuff, the physical exam, to narrow that differential to what we think the most likely diagnosis is. What you do when you do Dr. Google is build a differential diagnosis and just pick the one that you think fits the best. And you won't have access to all the other things I just mentioned. Training, physical exam, understanding clinical history, genetics, family history, social history, lab tests, all that stuff that we use to knock all the things off the differential diagnosis. So just because something fits and it's in the differential does not mean it's real. You need to talk to a physician, start at the beginning, and then let them do their job to help narrow that list to the diagnosis that you likely have. Mauricio Trujillo. Hi, what does the recent developments with Aetna mean for the ACA? Phenomenal question and so timely. In the last year, I think last year, maybe more, we have seen a number of news stories that have talked about insurance companies, national insurance companies, pulling their products from the exchanges, the system, the places by which people in the individual market are buying private insurance for themselves or for their family. When United Health left some time ago, I might have even talked about this in Healthcare Triage, I downplayed it a little bit because they didn't have a real market presence. And their leaving didn't change things that much. They were never a major contributor to the exchanges, and so be it. Aetna, that is not true. Aetna has a very large presence in the exchanges. In fact, for a long time has been one of the more vocal proponents of this. They're pulling their products from many exchanges across the United States. And this could have an impact in terms of competition and therefore the prices of what's available on many exchanges. And the idea is, of course, the more products that are offered on each exchange, the more competition there would be, the more likely the price would be lower, which could hold down healthcare spending. With no competition, the only plan that's there can basically set their price, and then we have to pay for it. Like, we got to cover it, because remember, the vast majority of people in the exchanges are getting subsidies. So it costs the public more, costs taxpayers more, costs individuals more when there's less competition. This is not good for the exchanges. Proponents, people that still like the ACA, will argue it's not a death knell, and it's like, a lot of products are still available in the exchanges. And this is not unexpected, because there's a good argument to be made that local companies do a better job in understanding the market and offering products and negotiating deals with local physicians and local providers to try to bring down costs and remain productive and remain competitive. National companies have a much more difficult time, because they don't have as many local connections in trying to offer those products. They're often trying to offer from different states. And so it's harder for national companies to offer products in individual exchanges that are state-based that will be competitive. But it's still not good. I mean, it's still a lot of companies have it. There's an argument to be made, and in fact, evidence that this is also a direct result of Aetna's being denied by the Department of Justice the ability to merge. I think they wanted to merge with Humana. And the Department of Justice said no, because they said that they would start getting to the point of they would have a monopoly. And I think for antitrust reasons, they said no to the merger. Some people are saying that this is payback, that Aetna is pulling those plans from the exchanges as sort of payback for being denied the ability to merge. A more reasonable reading of this is that they told the Department of Justice, the only way we can make our exchanges financially viable is if you allow the merger. And so therefore, since they didn't allow the merger, they're now saying, we told you we could only make it financially viable if you allowed the merger. You didn't allow the merger. We're pulling out. Is that a threat? I don't know. Is that being honest? I don't know. No one really knows at the end of the day how much of this is repercussions or payback versus they couldn't make it work without the merger. The bottom line is everybody should be aware. Healthcare reform is a complicated process. The Affordable Care Act is complicated because healthcare is complicated. Trying to keep costs down is complicated. Trying to offer insurance products is complicated. Narrow networks and formularies and the ways with which private insurance companies try to hold costs down are complicated. This is a complicated system, and there will be good years and bad years and good days and bad days. This is not a good thing for the Affordable Care Act. It is unbelievably complicated, and we will never tease out why Aetna is pulling out, whether it's payback, whether it's they couldn't make it work financially viable. There's an argument to be made that if private companies can't make this work, then we need a public option. We need the government to make it work. There's an argument to be made that government is not good at holding down costs. I don't know. There's all evidence for all of those things, and we will debate those in the future. But I would say that this is not good for the ACA, but it is also not the death knell for the ACA that many people say. It's a bad bit of news that has many explanations, and we'll need to follow it and see what happens in the future. Terrence Foster asks, can you dumb down what a single payer is to a tweet length? Yes, it's Medicare. It's Medicare for all. I think I even did that in subtweet length. It's if we took Medicare, what's Medicare in the United States, and we just gave it to everybody, that would be pretty close to a single payer system. Not perfect, because we also have Medicare Advantage, but pretty close to a single payer system. No, I'm trying, you're right, I'm expanding it beyond that. There you go, sorry, I'm stopping. ML Robbins 2. I have a question about a video in the past about wisdom teeth removal and why the U.S. like to remove them. Can you list some reasons when or why it should be removed? So wisdom teeth should be removed when they're either significantly causing a health problem or when there's a high basis for a belief that they're going to cause a health problem. We probably do too many wisdom teeth operations in the United States. I had my wisdom teeth out. But what did I know? I was just told to. My wife never had her wisdom teeth out. She's never had a problem. There's a growing widespread belief that we do it too often. But as with everything in medicine, we do it too often. Why? Well, there's a financial incentive to have your wisdom teeth out. I mean, that's one of it. And also dentists, I think, actually do believe that they're helping people by bringing the wisdom teeth out. But it's probably too much. And therefore, we need to keep talking about it and think about lowering it. Lays Janev, my opinion about quantum medicine and quantum therapy. Are there any proven benefits to this or just a gimmick? Are there any particular areas where there's... What is that?
Quantum therapy?
Yes.
I got it here for you.
Awesome.
It is study of bioelectrical and bioresonance systems and subsystems in the human body with the purpose of correlating appropriate therapeutic protocols that promote the human body's own self-healing and self-regeneration.
No evidence. There's no proven benefits of this. No, I can just say that right now. Because again, here's the thing. If something worked, we'd call it medicine and we would promote it and insurance would cover it and it would be great. And you should go back and watch our whole episode on the idea that the false dichotomy between conventional and traditional medicine and alternative medicine, that it's got to be proven or not proven. This is not proven. There is no particular area where there's proof to help patients. If there was, I'd know about it and we would talk about it. They will probably have studies which are weak and not well designed and proclaim to have some kind of great benefit, but there will be no good studies. There'll certainly be no randomized controlled trials to talk about the benefits of this. I know of no proof, data, evidence, etc. of this working in anything. In fact, this is the first I've heard of it. There you go. Last question, Gen 4F. Hi, Carroll. Why are some infectious diseases more prevalent in certain age groups? For instance, meningitis on 16 to 19-year-olds. Thanks. Okay, so that one is actually, it's, the reason we make those kids it has to do with how it's transmitted and everything else. Adolescents are more likely to transmit it to each other. Institutionalized groups are more likely to get some diseases like that. That's why we worry about, military personnel, and that's why we worry about college kids, because college kids live in dorms, and they're all pushed together in such a way that they make it much more likely to transmit the disease. That's why we vaccinate that population. So it's kids going to college we worry about. It's kids who might go in the military. That's what we worry about. So we vaccinate them before they do that, 16 to 19. Others have to do with their susceptibility to it, because babies have a very weak immune system compared to kids and adults. That's why we worry about them. The elderly have a very weak immune system. That's why they die of flu. Most flus, not all flus. What was that? Not avian flu. I'm losing my mind. What was that flu going on? Swine flu. Is it swine flu? H1N1. That's all I can remember. Yeah, that one actually for some reason killed younger people. But diseases affect the groups that are more susceptible to them. That's why the elderly get zoster. That's why, we worry about babies getting pertussis or H-flu meningitis or H-flu esophagitis back in the day. Or epiglottitis. And so that is for the vast. So it either has to do with their innate susceptibility or there's something social about the way they're transmitting it. That is why they're more susceptible. That is why we worry about those infectious diseases and those people more. Sexually active people have to be worried about STIs. That's the same kind of thing. They're the ones that engage in it. They're the ones at risk. So it's either innate or engaging in an activity. And that'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We will be back next week. We got a good healthcare triage news on Friday. I'm sure there's a big healthcare triage extravaganza coming out next Monday, and then next Wednesday we'll do live again. So thank you for tuning in. A little housekeeping at the end if you're still watching. Check us out, patreon.com/healthcaretriage. We always appreciate your support. Facebook.com/healthcaretriage, htmerch.com. All of these places are great. See you next week.